Hello and welcome to Magical Travel Adventure. I am Lauren, your host, and today I am here to talk to you about me preparing for my Alaskan cruise. And I think a lot of people don't think like, oh, cruising, it's all the same. It's all, you know, there's no difference if you go on one cruise from another. But I'm finding that there is a huge change when I am preparing for this Alaskan cruise. Now, granted, it's 2022, and so there are a lot of differences in general about cruising, and I am going out through Vancouver, and that is a choice of mine because there's a few reasons, but the main reason is that the water between Seattle and Vancouver can get choppier than if you just start in Vancouver. And I just want a smoother boat ride. It's my husband and my son's first time on a cruise, so I want to make sure that they're okay. But also me. But also, I find that there are better options when you're going from Vancouver. It was the options that I liked better. So I definitely am glad that I chose this cruise. Now I'm also going on Royal Caribbean, which is maybe not known as an Alaskan expert of cruising, but I did want to just see what it was like to do a Royal Caribbean ship instead of some of the other ones like Princess that really are like the Alaskan and Holland America. Those are the two that are really like known for the Alaskan specialty. So this is also on a smaller ship. That Royal Caribbean has it on a larger ship also, but that does not go out of Vancouver. And I knew I didn't want a large ship for this trip. So that was just planning for the Alaskan, like which Alaskan cruise I was going to go on. And I will say that in 2022, Alaskan cruises were not that expensive. Um, they were probably less expensive than a lot of they're probably on par with any other cruise that you get out there that would go in the Caribbean. So the hardest part, of course, is all the stuff in between. The cruise was easy. Booking the cruise was easy. Getting the port adventures was easy. And you could go back to see about pros and cons of getting those excursions because I've done a video on that. But what I will say that was difficult is when I first booked it and we could book excursions, we could only book through the cruise line at the time because my son is under 5 and not vaccinated. So that was our only option. Of course, like halfway in between us planning that, they said that you could do outside port adventures, but at that point, a lot of the ones that were off booking were already booked. So like not booking it through Royal Caribbean, but doing it through a third party. I couldn't do it because they were already all booked. So that was a little disappointing, but it's okay. We'll try out the ones that we did through Royal Caribbean, and I'm very excited for them. And I'm also kind of excited because it's not overplanned. Some of our excursions are, just on just walking around the town and kind of figuring it out. And then we also have some tours planned too. So we have kind of a mixture of both to make sure that we're not overscheduling and overdoing it to ourselves too much because we are also dealing with a time change. So when we fly to Vancouver, I'm on the East Coast, so it's about a 3-hour time change for Vancouver. But then when sometime on the cruise, we turn into a 4-hour difference. So I'm not quite sure how that will all work with my son. I'm sure we'll still be going to bed early and waking up early. As much as I can try to not do that, I don't see that happening. I just think that my son just is a wake up early type of person, which is fine. I don't mind. There's lots to do on the ship, even early morning. We can just go outside. So I'm very excited for that. And So let's talk about some of the things that I have really struggled with on this trip. Transportation, hands down, number one, is the hardest thing that I have struggled with in Vancouver. This is I have booked so many different people. I've had so many different people cancel. I have had so many very unique situations come up that have never happened to me before. My goal was to have one driver for us the whole time, and now everything is kind of split up. My son, obviously unvaccinated, so we have to get him tested at the port beforehand, but it's not at the port, it's somewhere else. So we have to, in the morning, go to this other location, get him tested, then come back to the hotel where we're staying, and then gather everyone up and then go. And so there's a lot of different things going on in that situation. But the biggest thing that I have to say is that this transportation was really challenging. And I do now know that there are definitely better companies and people out there than there are, and I know which ones to kind of stay away from. Some of it is clearly just supply and demand that Royal Caribbean doesn't really offer a cruise transportation unless you go back to the airport, and then they will get you from the airport and bring you to the dock. But with that, they also will not pick you up until 2 p.m. And my time to get on is way earlier than that. So that's not super helpful for us. So getting to the port, we still have a little maneuvering to do. Getting from the airport, I was able to find someone. I actually called our hotel where we were staying, and they were able to help us and recommend someone there. Unfortunately, they are not available after that date. So I have a different service that I'm going to try, and I think I'm going to talk about all of that when I get back to see if how it all worked out, because I've done a very good job planning it, but the execution of it might be challenging. And I will say that I had two companies that I had previously booked for that canceled on me because they had larger groups that they had to deal with, and then they didn't have enough drivers for smaller groups. And I do understand that, but it also is frustrating that I've had that booked since like December of 2021, and they've canceled on me because last minute they got something. So I don't know. It's kind of like a toss up there about like transportation. I know that Uber is really big in Vancouver. So if you can use Uber, that's great. There are five of us. I need a car seat. Like there are more complicating factors for that. My biggest thing is when we got picked up, like at the end of the cruise, I don't want to have to deal with anything. So I do have a car service there, and I do know that they're very reliable. They've contacted me, they've called me, and we've talked. So we're all set there. The other thing that I had to do was find a hotel because Royal Caribbean does not offer hotels through them when you are staying in Vancouver. So you have to find your own hotel. And this is where it gets a little challenging because when I first booked our hotel, I was like, well, I I don't really want to be at the port. Like I don't want to be right at the port. Like I want to enjoy Vancouver also. And that got a little complicated. So I picked a hotel that was not at the cruise port. Now, of course, I wish I had picked the one that was at the cruise port. But looking back on it, we'll be fine and we'll get to see more of Vancouver this way, and it'll just be better. But there are fine in Vancouver, you just want to make sure that you're finding hotels in safe areas that will work for you. Again, sometimes some of them are only two-person occupancy. So you really need, and they actually, I think they have one-person occupancy for some of their rooms also. So it can get very challenging when you're looking in Vancouver with some of those hotels. I don't know if it's a one-person occupancy, but I do know that a lot of them are just two-person occupancy rooms. So you just really need to make sure if there's more than two of you, know that. Now, the next two things might be just a 2022 fluke, but maybe not because I cannot see the future, in case you didn't know that. But packing We are flying through Toronto, and currently Toronto's airport is trying its very best. I'm sure everyone who's working there is working very hard, but unfortunately, baggage there is just not one of the top priorities. And we can't risk that our bags won't get from one plane to the next and meet us in Vancouver. So we are doing all carry ons for this trip. Now, I have done lots of things to get ready for this trip, and it's even impacted the type of clothes that I'm bringing because I'm trying to bring thinner clothes. Um, and shoes, I'm trying to limit like the amount of shoes. Although yesterday when I was trying to pack again, I was like, oh, well, I definitely need this pair of shoes. And I'm like, okay, so I'm at 5. But 3 of them are really, really small. So I think if I pack 3 of them and the 4th one, I'll be okay to pack, and then I'll just wear the 5th one. Obviously, when you travel, you always wear your biggest, clunkiest shoes, and that is what I plan to do. So I think I'll be okay with my shoes. But one of the things that I really want to bring is a blanket for the balcony. And I have this blanket that I really, really love that my mother-in-law gave me like years ago. And I really, really want that for that balcony. So I'm still figuring that part out. But I did buy these bags that are like vacuum seal bags for my clothes. So I'm going to put the clothes in the vacuum seal bags and then put them in packing cubes and see how much I can get in all the packing cubes. And I think I'll be okay with my carry-on and my personal item that is just it looks like a big carry-on anyways. And my son's clothes are smaller. So in his carry-on, he'll have a rolling carry-on suitcase and a backpack. So I think that his stuff will also be jam-packed and full of things, just to make sure that we have enough space for everything, and that we can fit everything in. My plan also is if I do buy things in Alaska, I'm probably going to have to ship them home because I don't know how much space I will have. So it's probably, I do see that some of the stuff that we might buy in Alaska, we might just ship home, which is also fine. And I think, you know, I can be an overpacker, but in this case, I think what's harder with Alaska is I'm not wearing light clothes. Like it's not 70, 80 degrees outside. It's going to be 50, 60 degrees. So I need to be prepared and have that stuff. And I was prepared to bring my winter jacket, and now I don't think we can. We'll try and bring my son's just in case, but uh, we just won't be able to do it. And if I have to buy something, then I have to buy something when I'm in Alaska. It is what it is. But I really am limiting the clothes that I am bringing. And I think about like this weather pattern of 50s and 60s that, that's kind of sweatshirt weather and things like that, and sweater weather. So I definitely have things that I can reuse and rewear. And since we're not paying to check our bags, I just assume that, we'll just pay for laundry service when we're on board. I think that sometimes people just look at the prices and think like, oh my gosh, this is not possible. But I just don't see it that way. Like, I'd rather just pay for it and have the laundry service done so that I don't have to worry about packing as much and that we've run out of clothes or that we have to wash everything in the sink every night. Like, there's only so much you can do when you're on vacation, and this is just like an easier way. So that's it. And the last part I'll talk about is COVID. So if COVID is not a thing anymore, you could just skip over this part, and thanks for watching the video. But I will say the COVID process for going out of Vancouver is kind of outrageous, actually. I'm kind of shocked about how much we have to do, and especially because, I'm planning a multi-generational trip. It's a lot of work for my mom to do, and a lot of technology that she's not used to doing. So in order to get into Canada, you have to download an app and upload your passport and put in your flight information. It's basically like doing a visa for yourself online to go into Canada, and upload your COVID cards and stuff like that. And on top of that, then you have to obviously bring your passport, bring your COVID cards, um, and everything, and, and still go through customs. So I think it's just a very frustrating process. I guess I'll see. Like, if we can just breeze through customs, like, I'll be like, oh, okay, that was totally worth it. But if we get stopped, if we have to like wait in a line for 2 hours, like that will frustrate me. Like, what was the point of doing all this stuff ahead of time if I still had to wait forever just to get in the country? The other thing with the COVID testing is you had to pre-order the COVID testing. And the good thing is that we could do it at our house the morning of our travel, except for my son, who we had to do a separate appointment the day before ours. And then obviously we have to do it at the cruise port, which is fine. Like, I totally understand that reasoning. If it was just that, I would be fine with it. But like all of this other extra stuff. So for our online COVID test, we had to pre-order it through Royal Caribbean. It's through eMed. And then you get your boxes, and then you have to register with eMed, but then you have to register with another place because the other place is the one that's going to show you your results. It's like, you can't show me the same results in the same app. So you had to download the eMed app, and then there's another app you had to download also to show your results. Well, it's really hard to help a parent that is older than I am with doing all this over the phone. And I give my mom a lot of credit because she's been able to do a lot of this stuff all on her own, but it's a lot of work to do ahead of time. And there are no directions. I have called eMed probably about 4 times about everything. And we're trying to pre-register because we have to do our tests super early in the morning because our flights leave, and we want to have all the COVID testing done and out of the way before we get on any flights or anything like that. And it's just a lot more complicated than it needed to be. Like, it should just be, you order a COVID test, you schedule a time, you get on at the time, you do it, and they email you your results. And that is not how it works, unfortunately. So I'm hoping that it's easier said than done, and that my frustration is that I have to help my mom, and that I have to walk her through all these steps and do all these extra things that I wouldn't normally have to do. But like, I can't make my husband's account. He has to make his own account. We can't be on the same video call. So he has to do a video call, then I have to do a video call. So it just, but then there's some of the places you can do your COVID tests and you can do it together, but it kind of depends on where you're going for your cruise, and they'll let you know what kind of cruise testing you can go through. So I think that has just been one of the most frustrating parts about this whole process. Like, we knew we had to do COVID testing, and I'd be fine. If I just had to like go online and do a COVID test, that would be fine. But it's just all these, I have so many different logins for so many different apps, and it's so hard because I have to make sure that everyone has it and everyone has their stuff. And do you have everything? And you have to check in to Canada, then you have to check into your flights, you got to check in for your COVID tests. So there's a lot that goes into it. And even if you're going out of Seattle, you still, there are chances that you still have to do the ArriveCan app, which is the same thing that I have to do, and that you have to do specific COVID testing on those cruises too. So it's definitely not a seamless process, and I hope that it changes for 2023 for all of you. But when I return, hopefully I'll have some great information. And if you don't know my agency owner at Carry On the Magic, Cheryl, she was on before when we were talking about Alaska cruising. She is also going on Alaskan cruise, but out of Seattle for Holland America. So we will be doing some videos and information sessions when we both get back, and talking about that probably through Carry On the Magic. So check out that. I'll try and post that on my social media, which is all below. And of course, if you would like to book your next vacation, you can reach out to me. And yes, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that bell notification. Someday I'll remember to do it before the end of the video. But that will do it for today's video. And I hope you enjoyed. And I hope you're excited that someday you will get to go to Alaska, because it has been a fun experience planning so far. So don't let the COVID testing scare you, because that's going away hopefully someday. So, all right, I will talk to you next time. Bye.